Hi, so I wanted to talk about one of my personal favorite technologies, the combustion engine. Not my favorite in the sense of I think it's really good and we should have it for a long time, but more like how I like the Roman Empire. It's something that's cool and neat to talk about and learn about and discuss and look at in a museum, but I'm kind of glad it's not around anymore. At least it probably isn't going to be for much longer because I think the internal combustion engine is going obsolete. So markets are tending ever increasingly more towards hybrid and electric options rather than the internal combustion engine. And while we lose certain aspects of culture and commerce as that happens, I don't think it's bad, nor should it come as much of a surprise. See, as humans always tend towards progress, technology always tends towards obsolescence. So quickly, what is an internal combustion engine? Essentially, it is a machine that converts chemical energy like gasoline or diesel into rotational energy, which is called torque, that your car can then harness and turn into mechanical energy to bring you forward. It uses the fundamental principle that when a liquid is ignited or otherwise transferred into a gas, it expands. So when the liquid gasoline at all is ignited in the presence of oxygen in a small chamber in your car's engine, it expands. It increases in the amount of pressure it's exerting on the chamber around it. That forces a piston downwards with force. That force partially turns a crankshaft, which is attached to a flywheel that your car can then harness to go forward. This is a very bare bones, broad explanation. The exact details of how it works aren't really the focus of this video. So there's plenty of resources out there if you are interested in the ins and outs of internal combustion. But to explain why I think that this technology is on the way out, we need to back up just a little bit. A defining feature of humanity is our use of tools to solve our problems and make our lives easier. The first human ancestor known to do this is called Homo habilis, the handyman, whose tool-using tendencies predate even the first humans to walk upright. Essentially, we're designed from the ground up to use tools even more so than we are designed from the ground up. These early tools are things like sticks used to poke at bugs that are hiding in trees, or stones that are hit against other stones to make slightly pointier stones. But this early drive towards innovation is what would give humans rise to a rich history that's full of tool use and technology that improves our lives and helps us grow into the creatures that we are today. So technology is at our very roots, continuously refined and replaced to make our lives easier, and one such innovation is so universally recognized as a good idea that it's sort of become a colloquial litmus test for cultural intelligence: the invention of the wheel. Wheels are useful for a great number of things: transporting goods, lifting heavy objects, moving people from point A to point B. All these can be broadly defined as transportation. To efficiently move a person from one place to another is to be free. Free to build empires, free to develop agriculture, free to attack cities. It's believed that the first horse-drawn chariots were invented by the Sintashta of the Eurasian steppe in circa 2500 BCE. Via this initial good idea of breeding a horse and then thinking, what if it had wheels on it though? They and their descendants were able to go on vast territorial expanses and campaigns that result in, even today, their genetics being seen all across the Near and Middle East. And just as their people spread, so too did their technology. The wheeled horse became a staple of human society. It decided wars, it aided in the transporting of goods, it made long travel possible and more comfortable than it ever could have been. But all technology, even the horse, becomes obsolete. When you go outside today, you are not likely to see any horses, wheeled or otherwise, and I'm at least pretty sure of that. Because in the late 19th century, we figured out a way to do it better. Carl Benz invented the first motor car in Germany in 1885, but it didn't catch on right away. They were expensive, they required specialized labor, not only to build, but to use, And people were initially reluctant to catch on to this frankly terrifying technology. With the exception of a few crucial early adopters, it took about a full generation of more conservatively minded people before cars were able to catch on. So for a span of time, we lived in a hybrid world where streets were shared both by cars and by horses until we managed to make cars cheaper, mass-produced, more accessible to the general public, and then horses did not stand a chance. As if overnight, all of the horses disappeared from the streets after a relationship with humans for thousands of years side by side. And an entire behemoth of an industry just shrank to a size that it has never recovered from. Horse populations peaked around 1910 and have never even began to reach the height that they once were at. My question is this: why would we assume that the internal combustion engine is in any way more resistant to this obsolescence than the horse was a century ago? Cars are dirty, they pollute the air, they kill people, and they run on fuel that is both finite in amount and impossible to reclaim once it's been used. I mean, you go to the gas station and you buy petrol and you put it in your car and you set it on fire, and then the next time you have to go and buy more. It's 2026, people. The first century, it was the best technology that we had, and that's why we used it. And yes, I say they were the best technology that we had because officially it's not anymore. As we develop newer technology, we're quickly discovering that the faults and flaws of our vehicles can be patched by cutting out and replacing the problem area, the engine. Compared to gas engines, electric motors have a higher potential to be modified and improved to go quicker, they save money, and they decrease accidents and carbon emissions. Gas cars rely on oil, which is a depleting resource that can be brought to its knees, evidently, by supply chain issues and political tension. Electricity, on the other hand, can be generated from sunlight and wind and water, which are things that we do now and always will have plenty of. Don't laugh at me when the water wars start. For this same reason, behemoths in the energy industry are diversifying and investing more of their time, money, and resources into renewable energy. They know they can't fight progress, and they don't want to be cannibalized by the competitors who will absolutely eat them up if they fail to innovate. A fight against progress is not one anyone is able to win. So what can we expect in the future? For one, EVs aren't going away. We'll likely see an increase in the amount of companies that are building these, the amount of companies that are moving towards these, and the science and technology that goes into them. We are probably one of those last generations that are holding on to our technology before the big switch happens. And our cars aren't going away either. There's always going to be hobbyists and nerds who enjoy working on these cars and driving them and keeping up to date with them, and I'm happy to be one of those people. Just as equestrian populations didn't fall to zero when we invented the motor car, switched from cars to horses, cars won't disappear either. Supply is going to fall, gasoline is going to become less readily available, but the legend and culture will live on. The 911, the Skyline, the Miata, the Mustang, they're always going to be legends. Senna and Schumacher are always going to be our heroes. But for as far as the daily drive goes, we may just have a higher tech option. The fight against progress is not one that anyone is able to win. I really hope that you learned something and had a good time watching this video. At the end of the day, I am a student of engineering and I'm a car enthusiast. I'm excited for this new future that we get to explore together and that with any luck, I'll be able to be on the cutting edge of, be that via communication or by industry. If you did enjoy watching, they've invented a button that at no expense to you takes a couple cents from YouTube's pocket and puts it into mine. Just putting that out there. But regardless, I hope you had a good time. Take care out there.